the invisible bridge between sleep and mind. Welcome. Pause for a moment, close your eyes if you can and notice your breathing. There it is, steady, constant, a rhythm that has accompanied you since birth. Now consider this. Have you ever wondered why some nights your mind races endlessly, stealing sleep, while other nights you sink into darkness and wake refreshed? The answer lies not in mystery, but in the profound connection between the hours you spend sleeping and the emotional landscape you navigate when awake. Your sleep is not separate from your mental health. It is woven into it. The quality of your rest determines whether you face tomorrow with calm resilience or with the weight of anxiety pressing against your chest. This is not poetry alone. This is neuroscience speaking through the language of lived experience. Every person who has suffered through insomnia knows this truth intimately. Every mind that has spiraled into depression understands how the night becomes both refuge and prison. Before we begin this journey together, I invite you to subscribe to the Relaxing Science channel. Give this video a like and share in the comments where you are listening from right now and what time it is for you. Your presence here matters, and your engagement helps us continue bringing science and serenity together. The connection between sleep and mental health operates like an invisible bridge. On one side stands the sleeping brain, working through the night with extraordinary precision, processing emotions, consolidating memories, and restoring chemical balance. On the other side stands the waking mind, anxious, depressed, or calm, shaped profoundly by the quality of rest it received. When this bridge weakens, when sleep becomes fragmented or insufficient, the entire structure of mental well-being begins to crack. Consider what happens in your brain during a single night of poor sleep. The regions responsible for emotional regulation, the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, the anterior cingulate cortex, these areas communicate with each other through networks of neural pathways. When you sleep well, these pathways strengthen. When you do not sleep, they weaken. A single night of inadequate rest is like removing a few bricks from a bridge. One night might not cause collapse, but night after night of disrupted sleep gradually destabilizes the entire structure. The science here is elegant and precise. Your brain produces neurotransmitters and hormones that regulate mood, anxiety, and emotional resilience. Serotonin, dopamine, cortisol, melatonin. These chemical messengers determine whether you feel hopeful or hopeless, calm or panicked, grounded or adrift. Sleep is the time when your brain recalibrates these systems. During sleep, your body reduces cortisol, the stress hormone that keeps you alert. During sleep, your brain increases serotonin production, the neurotransmitter that stabilizes mood. During sleep, your body releases melatonin, which not only helps you rest but also protects your emotional well-being. When sleep is disrupted, this delicate chemical balance tips. Cortisol remains elevated, keeping your nervous system in a state of heightened alert. Serotonin production falters, leaving you vulnerable to depressive thoughts. Melatonin rhythms become chaotic, destabilizing both sleep and mood. The result is a vicious cycle. Poor sleep creates anxiety and depression make sleep even more difficult to achieve. This cycle is not your fault. It is not a personal failing or a weakness of character. It is biology responding to disruption. Understanding this distinction is crucial. Too often, people struggling with insomnia and mental health challenges blame themselves, adding shame to their suffering. But the relationship between sleep and mental health is not about willpower or discipline. It is about neuroscience, chemistry, and the fundamental needs of a human nervous system. Throughout this exploration, we will examine every dimension of this relationship. We will look at how anxiety prevents sleep and how sleep deprivation amplifies anxiety. We will understand how depression and insomnia reinforce each other, creating patterns that feel inescapable. We will explore the architecture of healthy sleep, the stages your brain moves through, the restorative processes that occur, the precise conditions your body requires to heal. And we will discover how understanding this science can become the first step toward breaking the cycle. The brain is remarkably adaptive. It is capable of healing. When you understand how sleep and mental health interconnect, you gain power. You begin to see that addressing sleep is not a luxury, it is medicine. It is foundational care for your emotional well-being. Every night you spend in restorative sleep is an investment in tomorrow's emotional resilience. As we move forward, pay attention to how your own experience resonates with what we explore. Notice where you recognize yourself. Notice where your suffering has taught you truths about this invisible bridge. Your body knows things that your conscious mind might not yet understand. Trust that knowledge. Let it guide you through this journey toward understanding and ultimately toward healing. The bridge between sleep and mental health is not broken beyond repair. It is simply waiting for attention, understanding, and care. The neuroscience of sleeplessness. Deep within your skull, beneath layers of bone and tissue, your brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons. Each neuron connects to thousands of others, creating networks of staggering complexity. These networks communicate through chemical signals and electrical impulses, generating the thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, and the consciousness that makes you who you are. Now, imagine what happens when these networks are deprived of sleep. Imagine the cascade of consequences that unfolds when the brain is denied its most fundamental restorative process. Sleeplessness is not simply the absence of sleep. It is an active state of neural disruption. When you lie awake at night, your brain is not resting. It is struggling. The circuits that normally quiet down during sleep remain hyperactive. The regions that should be offline continue firing. The chemical signals that should be rebalanced remain chaotic. This is why insomnia is so exhausting. Your body is awake, but your brain is also awake, unable to access the deeper states of rest that genuine sleep provides. Consider the reticular activating system, a network of neurons in your brainstem that acts like a gatekeeper between sleep and wakefulness. This system responds to threats, to stimuli, to anything that signals danger or importance. In people who suffer from insomnia and anxiety, this gatekeeper becomes hypervigilant. It perceives threats where none exist. A creaking floor becomes a potential danger. A slight noise becomes a signal to stay alert. The racing thoughts become evidence that something is wrong. The system designed to protect you becomes a source of suffering. The prefrontal cortex, the region of your brain responsible for rational thought and emotional regulation, becomes less active during sleeplessness. This is crucial to understand. When you are exhausted and cannot sleep, the very part of your brain that could help you calm down is weakened. You lose access to the cognitive tools that help you think clearly about your anxiety. You cannot talk yourself down rationally because the rational part of your brain is offline. Instead, the amygdala, your brain's alarm system, becomes more active. It amplifies every worry, every fear, every anxious thought. The emotional brain takes over while the rational brain steps back. This is why insomnia and anxiety feel so overwhelming, so impossible to control through sheer willpower. The neurotransmitter glutamate plays a critical role in this process. Glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter, meaning it activates neural firing. During normal wakefulness, glutamate levels are appropriate for alertness and function, but when sleep is disrupted chronically, glutamate accumulates in the brain. It builds up in regions associated with anxiety and emotional regulation. Too much glutamate is like having the volume turned up too loud on every neural circuit. Everything becomes heightened, sensitized, reactive. Your threshold for stress tolerance drops. Small annoyances feel unbearable. Mild concerns feel catastrophic. This is not exaggeration or drama. This is neuroscience explaining why your emotional responses feel so intense when you are sleep deprived. Meanwhile, gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA, the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter in your brain, becomes depleted. GABA is like the volume knob that turns things down. It calms neural firing. It creates the sense of ease and relaxation. When GABA levels drop due to sleep deprivation, your brain loses its ability to apply the brakes. You become neurologically hyperactive, even as you feel physically exhausted. This contradiction, the tiredness coupled with the inability to actually rest, is one of the cruelest aspects of insomnia. Your brain's default mode network also becomes disrupted. This network activates when you are not focused on external tasks, when your mind wanders, when you are at rest. In healthy individuals, the default mode network cycles on and off appropriately. But in people with insomnia and anxiety, This network becomes stuck in the on position. It keeps generating the internal dialogue of worry. It maintains the loop of anxious thoughts. You cannot escape your own mind because the neural circuits that normally allow your mind to rest are malfunctioning. The thalamus, which acts as a relay station for sensory information, also becomes hyperactive in insomnia. Normally, during sleep, the thalamus reduces the flow of sensory information to the cortex. It creates a kind of filter that allows your brain to ignore external stimuli and focus on the internal work of sleep. But when you are awake at 3 in the morning, worrying, your thalamus is flooding your cortex with every possible sensory detail. Every slight sound, every shift in temperature, every physical sensation becomes amplified and meaningful. Your brain is receiving too much information and cannot filter it out. This is why people with insomnia often report being hyper-aware of their environment, unable to ignore anything, unable to let go and drift into sleep. The consequences of this neural state accumulate. With each night of poor sleep, the damage compounds. Your brain's capacity for neuroplasticity, its ability to form new connections and reorganize itself, becomes impaired. The inflammation in your brain increases. The production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein crucial for learning and memory formation, decreases. The glymphatic system, which clears metabolic waste from your brain during sleep, cannot perform its crucial function. Toxins accumulate. Neural efficiency decreases. Your brain begins to function as if it is running on a system designed for crisis rather than normal operation. This is why chronic sleep deprivation is not merely unpleasant. It is harmful to your brain's health. It accelerates aging in certain neural regions. It increases vulnerability to neurodegenerative diseases. It fundamentally alters the structure and function of your brain. And it creates the perfect conditions for anxiety and depression to take root and flourish. Understanding this neuroscience is liberating in a specific way. It removes the blame. Your insomnia is not a character flaw. Your anxiety is not weakness. These are neural states, patterns of brain activity that have become established through a combination of stress, sleep disruption, and the brain's own attempt to protect itself. The hypervigilance that keeps you awake is your brain trying to keep you safe, but it has become miscalibrated. The anxiety is your alarm system misfiring. The sleeplessness is your neural networks stuck in an activation pattern they cannot escape. This is not your fault, but understanding it is the beginning of being able to change it. Anxiety's nocturnal cycle. Anxiety arrives like an unwanted visitor in the night. You lie in bed, your body exhausted, yet your mind refuses to settle. Thoughts spin in circles. What if something goes wrong tomorrow? What if you cannot handle it? What if you fail? What if something bad happens to someone you love? The thoughts feel real, urgent, important. They demand your attention. Your body responds as if the threats are immediate and physical. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense. You are caught in the grip of something that feels entirely out of your control. This is the nocturnal anxiety cycle, and it operates according to precise neurobiological principles. During the day, when you are occupied with tasks and stimulation, anxiety might remain manageable. Your attention is distributed across many things, but night brings silence, darkness, and the absence of external stimulation. Your mind turns inward, and when anxiety is present, that inward turn becomes a descent into worry. The mechanism begins with anticipatory anxiety. This is the brain's way of trying to prepare for potential threats. Anticipatory anxiety is not entirely pathological. It can be adaptive in small doses. It alerts you to real dangers and helps you prepare. But in people with anxiety disorders, this system becomes hyperactive. The brain generates threats that are not present. It imagines scenarios that are unlikely or impossible. It treats these imagined threats as if they are real and immediate. At night, when your rational mind is tired and your emotional mind is heightened, this tendency becomes especially pronounced. The bed becomes a place where anxiety flourishes. Paradoxically, the place designed for rest becomes the arena where anxiety performs its most elaborate dances. This happens because of a phenomenon called classical conditioning. If you have spent many nights lying awake with racing thoughts, Your brain begins to associate the bed with wakefulness and worry. The moment you lie down, your nervous system activates. You have trained your brain, through repeated pairing, to treat the bed as a place of threat rather than safety. The bed itself becomes a trigger for anxiety. Your autonomic nervous system divides into two branches: the sympathetic nervous system, which activates the fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which activates the rest and digest response. For sleep to occur, your parasympathetic nervous system must dominate. Your heart rate must slow. Your digestion must activate. Your muscles must relax. Your mind must quiet. But anxiety keeps your sympathetic nervous system activated. Even as you are trying to sleep, your body is prepared for action. Adrenaline is circulating. Cortisol is elevated. Your nervous system is in emergency mode. This creates a feedback loop. The anxiety keeps you awake. The wakefulness reinforces the anxiety. You lie there aware that you are not sleeping, and this awareness itself becomes anxiety-provoking. You start to worry about not sleeping. You begin to catastrophize. If I do not sleep tonight, I will be exhausted tomorrow. And if I am exhausted, I will make mistakes. And if I make mistakes, everything will fall apart. The anxiety about sleep deprivation becomes as powerful as the anxiety that originally prevented sleep. You have created a second layer of anxiety on top of the first. The body also participates in this cycle through muscular tension. Anxiety causes muscles to tense. Tense muscles send signals back to the brain indicating danger. The brain interprets these signals as evidence that something is wrong, and anxiety increases further. You end up lying in bed with clenched fists, tight shoulders, a rigid jaw, and a knot in your stomach. All of this physical tension maintains the state of nervous system activation that prevents sleep. Temperature regulation also becomes disrupted. Anxiety affects your body's ability to regulate its core temperature, which is crucial for sleep onset. Normally, as you prepare for sleep, your core temperature drops slightly. This drop signals to your brain that it is time to sleep, but anxiety interferes with this process. Your body might feel hot and cold simultaneously. You might sweat and then feel chilled. This temperature dysregulation is both a symptom of anxiety and something that prevents sleep, creating yet another layer of the cycle. Breathing becomes shallow and rapid during anxiety. You might notice yourself taking quick breaths from your chest rather than deep breaths from your belly. This pattern of breathing signals to your nervous system that you are in danger. Shallow breathing maintains sympathetic activation. It prevents the parasympathetic response that would allow sleep. You are literally breathing in a way that keeps yourself awake and anxious. The cognitive dimension of nocturnal anxiety deserves particular attention. Your thoughts at night are not rational thoughts. They are products of a tired brain in an anxious state. Yet they feel absolutely real and true. You believe your worries because they are generated by your own mind, and we tend to trust our own minds. But the truth is that an anxious brain generates anxious thoughts. It does not generate balanced perspective. It does not generate realistic assessment of probability. It generates worst-case scenarios. It treats unlikely possibilities as probable outcomes. It catastrophizes. And because you are alone in the dark, without external validation or distraction, you have nothing to counter these thoughts. You are trapped in a hall of mirrors where your anxious thoughts reflect back on themselves, amplifying with each reflection. The temporal dimension of anxiety also matters. At night, time feels different. 5 minutes of worry feels like an hour. An hour of wakefulness feels like the entire night. Your sense of temporal perspective becomes distorted. You might check the clock, see that it is only 2 in the morning, and feel despair at how much night remains. This distortion of time intensifies the anxiety. You feel as if you are trapped in an endless night, even though objectively, morning will come in just a few hours. Social isolation contributes to nocturnal anxiety as well. During the day, you are surrounded by other people. Their presence, their activity, their normalcy helps ground you. But at night, you are alone. Everyone else is asleep. There is no one to talk to, no one to reassure you, no one to remind you that your worries are exaggerated. This isolation amplifies anxiety. You are alone with your thoughts, and your thoughts are telling you that something is terribly wrong. The cycle of nocturnal anxiety becomes self-perpetuating because each component reinforces the others. Anxiety causes physical tension, which signals danger to your brain, which increases anxiety. Anxiety causes shallow breathing, which maintains sympathetic activation, which perpetuates anxiety. Anxiety prevents sleep, which exhausts your brain, which makes anxiety worse the next night. You find yourself caught in a pattern that seems impossible to escape through willpower alone. Understanding this cycle is important because it reveals that nocturnal anxiety is not a simple problem with a simple solution. You cannot just decide to stop worrying. You cannot just tell yourself that everything will be fine. The anxiety is embedded in your nervous system, your breathing patterns, your muscle tension, your thought patterns, and your environment. Addressing it requires understanding all of these dimensions and working with them compassionately and systematically. The depression spiral. Depression moves differently than anxiety. Where anxiety is agitated and urgent, depression is heavy and slow. Depression is not primarily about worry. It is about the loss of hope, the absence of motivation, the sense that nothing matters and nothing will change. And depression and sleep are locked in perhaps the most insidious cycle of all, because both depression and sleep disruption feed each other in ways that can feel impossible to interrupt. Consider what depression does to your brain chemistry. Depression is associated with low levels of serotonin, the neurotransmitter often called the happiness chemical, though that description oversimplifies its actual function. Serotonin regulates mood, certainly, but it also regulates sleep architecture, appetite, pain perception, and numerous other functions. When serotonin is low, mood suffers, but sleep also suffers. The sleep you do manage to get becomes fragmented and non-restorative. You might sleep 8 hours and wake feeling as if you have not slept at all. You wake unrefreshed because your brain did not progress through the sleep stages in the way it needed to. Depression also involves low levels of dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with motivation, pleasure, and reward. When dopamine is low, nothing feels worth doing. The prospect of sleep might seem appealing because sleep is an escape, but the motivation to establish healthy sleep habits is absent. You do not have the energy to maintain a consistent sleep schedule. You do not have the drive to create a sleep-friendly environment. You do not have the willpower to resist behaviors that damage sleep, like staying up late scrolling through your phone or using alcohol as a sleep aid. Depression strips away the motivation that would allow you to address the sleep problem. The relationship between sleep and depression operates through multiple pathways. One crucial pathway involves the regulation of emotional processing. During sleep, particularly during REM sleep, your brain processes emotional memories. It integrates emotional experiences into your broader life narrative. It resolves emotional conflicts. It allows you to move on from distressing events. When sleep is disrupted, this emotional processing cannot occur properly. Emotional experiences accumulate without being integrated. Distressing memories do not fade in emotional intensity the way they normally would. You remain emotionally stuck, reliving painful experiences with the same intensity as when they first occurred. This accumulation of unprocessed emotional material is exhausting. Your brain becomes increasingly burdened. The weight of unresolved emotion becomes heavier. This heaviness is depression. Depression is, in part, what happens when your brain cannot process its emotional load because sleep is insufficient. You are trapped in a state where you are too depressed to sleep well and too sleep-deprived to process the emotions that are making you depressed. Another critical pathway involves inflammation. Depression is associated with elevated levels of inflammatory markers in the brain and throughout the body. Inflammation is your immune system's response to threat or damage. In depression, this inflammatory response becomes chronic and excessive. Sleep disruption amplifies this inflammatory response. When you do not sleep, your immune system becomes dysregulated. It produces more inflammatory molecules. These molecules cross the blood-brain barrier and increase inflammation in your brain. The inflammation in your brain intensifies depressive symptoms. The worse depression becomes, the more difficult sleep becomes. The more difficult sleep becomes, the more inflammation increases. another vicious cycle. Circadian rhythm disruption is also central to the depression-sleep connection. Your brain operates on a 24-hour cycle, with numerous biological processes rising and falling according to this rhythm. Your body temperature, your hormone levels, your neurotransmitter production, your mood, all of these follow circadian patterns. Depression disrupts these rhythms. You might sleep at odd hours, sleep at inconsistent times, or sleep in fragmented bursts. This disruption of your circadian rhythm makes depression worse. Circadian misalignment is itself depressing. Your body cannot function optimally when its internal timing is disrupted. The more disrupted your circadian rhythm becomes, the more depressed you feel, and the more you struggle to maintain consistent sleep. The cognitive dimension of depression also interferes with sleep. Depression involves negative thinking patterns, rumination, catastrophizing, self-blame. These thought patterns activate at night, just as they do during the day, but at night they are more powerful. In the darkness and silence, your mind turns inward. The negative thoughts seem more true. The sense of hopelessness seems more justified. You find yourself lying awake, cycling through the same painful thoughts over and over. This rumination is not productive thinking. It does not solve problems, it simply recycles pain, and it keeps you awake. Depression also affects your perception of time and your sense of agency. When you are depressed, the future seems bleak and unchangeable. This perspective makes it difficult to maintain hope about sleep improvement. Why bother establishing healthy sleep habits if nothing will get better anyway? Why try to change anything if you are fundamentally broken? This hopelessness becomes a barrier to taking action, and without action nothing changes. The depression deepens. Physical symptoms of depression also disrupt sleep. Depression often involves chronic pain, fatigue, and a sense of heaviness in the body. These physical symptoms make it difficult to get comfortable in bed. They make sleep less restorative, even when it does occur. You might wake with aching joints, a heavy feeling in your chest, or a sense of physical exhaustion that sleep does not resolve. This paradox, being exhausted yet unable to rest, is one of the defining features of depression. The isolation that often accompanies depression also damages sleep. Depression makes social connection feel impossible or pointless. You withdraw from others. You spend more time alone. This isolation removes the social synchronization that normally helps regulate sleep and mood. Humans are social creatures. Our nervous systems regulate each other through proximity and connection. When you are isolated, your nervous system has no external regulation. It becomes increasingly dysregulated. Your sleep becomes worse. Your depression deepens. You withdraw further. The cycle tightens. One of the most insidious aspects of the depression sleep cycle is that it creates a sense of inevitability. You have been depressed and sleeping poorly for so long that you begin to believe this is simply how you are. You cannot imagine feeling otherwise. You cannot imagine sleeping well. The cycle feels like your fundamental nature, rather than a treatable condition. This belief itself becomes a barrier to change. If you believe change is impossible, you will not attempt change. If you do not attempt change, nothing changes. Your belief becomes self-fulfilling. The depression sleep cycle is also often invisible to others. From the outside, you might look fine. You might function adequately at work or in social situations, but internally you are exhausted. Internally you are struggling. Others do not see the nights you spend awake, the pain of unrefreshed sleep, the heaviness that makes every action require enormous effort. This invisibility can increase the sense of isolation. You feel alone with your suffering in a way that anxiety sufferers might not, because anxiety is more obviously visible to others. Yet understanding this cycle, understanding that depression and sleep disruption are locked together in a biological dance, also offers hope. It means that addressing one can help address the other. It means that improving sleep, even slightly, can begin to lift depression. It means that treating depression can improve sleep. The cycle that seemed so inescapable is actually a system that can be influenced and changed. The architecture of healthy sleep is not a monolithic state. It is not simply on or off, rested or unrested. Sleep has structure, sleep has architecture. Your brain moves through distinct stages during a normal night of sleep, each stage serving specific restorative functions. Understanding this architecture is crucial because it reveals what you are missing when sleep is disrupted, and it provides a map for how to restore healthy sleep. A typical night of sleep progresses through cycles, each cycle lasting approximately 90 minutes. Within each cycle, your brain moves through different stages, and the characteristics of these stages change as the night progresses. Early in the night, your brain spends more time in deep, non-REM sleep. Later in the night, your brain spends more time in REM sleep. This progression is not random. It is a carefully orchestrated sequence that your brain has evolved over millions of years to optimize restoration and survival. The first stage of sleep is light sleep, sometimes called Stage 1 non-REM sleep. This is the transition between wakefulness and sleep. Your brain is beginning to slow down. Your eyes are closed, your muscles are relaxing. Your awareness of your surroundings is fading. This stage lasts just a few minutes, but it is important. It is the gateway into deeper sleep. If you are frequently interrupted during this stage, you never progress into deeper sleep. You remain in a state of light, fragmented rest that is not restorative. Stage 2. Non-REM sleep is deeper than Stage 1. Your brain waves slow further, your body temperature drops, your heart rate decreases, your body becomes increasingly relaxed. During this stage, your brain engages in memory consolidation, particularly the consolidation of procedural memories, the memories of how to do things. If you learned a new skill during the day, Stage 2 sleep helps solidify that skill. If you practiced a musical instrument, Stage 2 sleep helps your brain integrate that practice. This is why learning is more effective when you sleep afterward. You spend a significant portion of your night in Stage 2 sleep, and disruption of this stage has consequences for learning and memory. Stage 3 non-REM sleep is deep sleep, sometimes called slow wave sleep, because your brain waves become very slow during this stage. This is the most restorative stage of sleep. During deep sleep, your brain is doing crucial restoration work. Your glymphatic system is most active during deep sleep, clearing metabolic waste from your brain tissue. Your immune system is being restored and enhanced. Your body is releasing growth hormone, which helps with physical repair and maintenance. Your body temperature is at its lowest. Your muscles are most relaxed. Your blood pressure is lowest. If you were to wake someone during deep sleep, they would be disoriented and confused, struggling to understand where they are or what is happening. This stage is so deep that your brain is relatively unresponsive to external stimuli. The amount of deep sleep you need depends on various factors, including your age, your activity level, and your overall health. Younger people typically need less deep sleep than older people. People who exercise regularly might need more deep sleep for physical recovery. But across the lifespan, deep sleep is essential. Without adequate deep sleep, your body cannot repair itself. Without adequate deep sleep, your brain cannot clear the metabolic waste that accumulates during wakefulness. Without adequate deep sleep, your immune system cannot function optimally. After deep sleep, your brain begins to transition into REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement sleep. During REM sleep, your eyes move rapidly from side to side beneath your closed eyelids. Your brain waves become similar to waking brain waves. Your body becomes temporarily paralyzed except for your eyes and your diaphragm. This paralysis is actually protective. It prevents you from acting out your dreams and potentially hurting yourself. During REM sleep, you are dreaming. Your brain is highly active, processing emotions, consolidating emotional memories, and working through psychological material. REM sleep is when your brain processes emotional experiences. If something distressing happened during the day, REM sleep helps your brain integrate that experience, reducing its emotional intensity. If you are working through a difficult relationship or a challenging situation, REM sleep helps your brain process that challenge. If you are grieving a loss, REM sleep helps your brain move through the grief process. Without adequate REM sleep, emotional experiences do not integrate properly. They remain emotionally intense. You remain emotionally stuck. The proportion of REM sleep increases as the night progresses. Early sleep cycles might contain only a small amount of REM sleep, but later cycles contain increasingly more REM sleep. This is why sleep in the second half of the night is particularly important for emotional processing and mental health. If you are waking up early or cutting your sleep short, you are missing the REM sleep that is most crucial for emotional well-being. A normal night of sleep contains 4 to 6 complete cycles, meaning you progress through the entire sequence of light sleep, stage 2 sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep multiple times. Each cycle is roughly 90 minutes, so a full night of sleep is roughly 7 to 9 hours. This is why sleep recommendations typically suggest 7 to 9 hours per night. That time frame allows for multiple complete cycles. The timing of sleep also matters profoundly. Your brain is optimized to sleep at night when it is dark and to be awake during the day when it is light. This circadian alignment is crucial for sleep quality. If you are sleeping at odd hours or sleeping in a way that is misaligned with your circadian rhythm, your sleep will be less restorative even if you are sleeping the right amount of time. Your brain is designed to sleep at night. Fighting against this design creates stress on your system. Environmental factors also influence sleep architecture. Temperature, light, noise, and comfort all affect which sleep stages you enter and how long you remain in each stage. A room that is too warm disrupts deep sleep. Light exposure suppresses melatonin production and prevents REM sleep. Noise can fragment sleep, preventing you from completing full cycles. An uncomfortable bed makes it difficult to relax into the deep relaxation that characterizes deep sleep. These environmental factors might seem minor, but they significantly affect the restorative quality of your sleep. Substances also affect sleep architecture. Alcohol, for example, might help you fall asleep initially because it is sedating, but it disrupts REM sleep. You might sleep longer when you use alcohol, but your sleep is less restorative because you are missing the REM sleep that is crucial for emotional processing and memory consolidation. Caffeine blocks the adenosine receptors that signal sleepiness, preventing sleep onset or fragmenting sleep. Cannabis affects REM sleep in complex ways that are still being studied, but generally disrupts normal sleep architecture. Even though these substances might seem to help you sleep, they are actually damaging the quality of that sleep. Understanding sleep architecture is important because it reveals that the goal is not just to sleep, but to sleep in a way that allows your brain to complete its restorative work. This understanding also reveals why some nights you might sleep 8 hours and wake feeling unrefreshed. If those 8 hours were spent in disrupted, fragmented sleep without adequate deep sleep or REM sleep, your brain did not get the restoration it needed. Quality matters as much as quantity. The architecture of your sleep determines whether that sleep is truly restorative. When the mind refuses rest, there exists a paradoxical state where your body is exhausted, but your mind is alert. You are tired, profoundly tired, yet sleep remains elusive. Your eyes are heavy, your muscles ache, your entire being seems to cry out for rest, yet the moment you lie down, your mind activates. Thoughts begin to race. Your attention sharpens. Sleep becomes impossible despite your desperate need for it. This is the experience of many people struggling with insomnia, anxiety, and depression. The mind refuses rest even as the body begs for it. This refusal is not deliberate. Your conscious mind would gladly accept sleep. But beneath consciousness, your nervous system has learned to be afraid of sleep. This fear can develop for many reasons. Perhaps you have experienced panic attacks upon waking, and now your nervous system is wary of sleep because sleep represents vulnerability. Perhaps you have spent months or years struggling with insomnia, and your brain has learned that the bedroom is a place of frustration and failure. Perhaps you have experienced trauma, and sleep represents a state of defenselessness that your nervous system cannot tolerate. Whatever the origin, the result is the same. Your nervous system treats sleep as a threat rather than a refuge. When your nervous system perceives sleep as a threat, it activates protective mechanisms. It keeps you alert. It maintains muscle tension. It generates racing thoughts. These are all protective responses designed to keep you safe from the perceived threat of sleep. Your nervous system is trying to help you, but it is helping in a way that prevents the very thing you need most. This is the tragedy of sleep-related anxiety. The very system designed to protect you is preventing you from getting the protection that sleep provides. The mind's refusal to rest also involves what is called hyperarousal. Hyperarousal is a state of elevated nervous system activation that persists even when you are lying still. Your heart rate is elevated. Your breathing is rapid. Your muscles are tense. Your brain is highly active. Even though you are not moving, even though you are trying to rest, your nervous system is in a state of heightened alert. This hyperarousal makes sleep neurologically impossible. Your brain cannot enter the deep relaxation that sleep requires because it is too activated. Hyperarousal can be cognitive or physiological. Cognitive hyperarousal involves racing thoughts, difficulty concentrating on a single thought, and the mind jumping from worry to worry. You try to focus on relaxing, but your mind is generating a constant stream of anxious thoughts. You try to distract yourself with a mental image or a counting exercise, but your mind will not cooperate. It keeps generating new concerns, new worries, new reasons to remain alert. Physiological hyperarousal involves physical tension, rapid heart rate, shallow breathing, and a sense of physical activation. Your body is ready for action, even though you are trying to rest. The relationship between hyperarousal and insomnia is bidirectional. Hyperarousal prevents sleep, and lack of sleep increases hyperarousal. As your sleep deprivation accumulates, your nervous system becomes increasingly reactive. You become more easily startled. You become more irritable. You become more sensitive to stimuli that would normally be ignored. This increased reactivity is hyperarousal intensifying. The more hyperaroused you become, the harder sleep becomes. The harder sleep becomes, the more hyperaroused you become. You are caught in an escalating cycle. Another mechanism by which the mind refuses rest involves what is called performance anxiety related to sleep. You want to sleep so badly that the very desire becomes an obstacle. You lie down with the intention of sleeping, and immediately you begin to monitor whether you are falling asleep. Are you asleep yet? No, you are still awake. This awareness that you are awake creates anxiety. The anxiety makes sleep even less likely. You become frustrated with yourself for not being able to do something that should be automatic. The frustration itself prevents sleep. You have created a situation where the harder you try to sleep, the more elusive sleep becomes. The concept of sleep effort is important here. Sleep cannot be forced. Sleep cannot be achieved through willpower or effort. Sleep is something that happens when you stop trying. But when you have been struggling with insomnia, when you have spent many nights awake, when you are desperate for sleep, the natural response is to try harder. You try to relax harder. You try to clear your mind harder. You try to fall asleep harder. But all of this trying is counterproductive. The effort itself maintains the activation that prevents sleep. You are caught in a trap where the very strategies that seem logical are actually preventing what you are trying to achieve. The bed becomes a conditioned stimulus for wakefulness. Through repeated association, your brain has learned that the bed is a place where you lie awake. The moment you lie down, this association activates. Your nervous system says, "Oh, we are in bed. That means we will be awake and frustrated." Your body tenses. Your mind activates. You are caught in a learned response that is difficult to break. Rumination also plays a role in the mind's refusal to rest. Rumination is repetitive thinking about problems, worries, or distressing topics. When you are trying to sleep and your mind is ruminating, you are essentially rehearsing your worries. You are running through problems over and over. This rumination serves no productive purpose. It does not solve the problems. It simply activates your nervous system and prevents sleep. Yet once rumination begins, it is difficult to stop. Your mind seems compelled to continue cycling through the same thoughts. The mind's refusal to rest also involves something called sleep-related anxiety, which is distinct from generalized anxiety. Sleep-related anxiety is anxiety specifically about sleep itself. You worry that you will not be able to fall asleep. You worry about the consequences of not sleeping. You worry that you are broken or defective because you cannot sleep like normal people. This anxiety about sleep is often more powerful than any other anxiety you experience. It is anxiety about the one thing you need most desperately. Catastrophic thinking about sleep consequences amplifies this anxiety. You tell yourself that if you do not sleep tonight, tomorrow will be a disaster. You will not be able to function. You will make mistakes. You will embarrass yourself. You will lose your job or damage your relationships. These catastrophic predictions feel true because you are exhausted and your brain is not thinking clearly. But these predictions are typically far worse than what will actually happen. Even after a night of poor sleep, you can usually function adequately the next day. You will be uncomfortable, but you will survive. The catastrophic thinking about consequences is often worse than the actual consequences. Yet this catastrophic thinking is understandable. Sleep deprivation is genuinely difficult. You will feel worse the next day. You will have less patience, less clarity, less emotional resilience. The catastrophic thinking is an exaggeration, but it is based on real difficulty. This is why the mind's refusal to rest is so cruel. You are suffering real consequences from sleep deprivation, and this real suffering feeds the anxiety that prevents sleep, which causes more suffering, which increases anxiety further. The mind's refusal to rest also involves a loss of trust in your own body. Your body should naturally want to sleep. Your body should naturally fall asleep when you lie down, but your body is not cooperating. Your body is refusing to do what it is supposed to do. This creates a sense of betrayal. You feel alienated from your own body. You feel at war with your own nervous system. This internal conflict, this sense that your body is working against you rather than with you, is profoundly distressing. The restoration process. While you sleep, your body engages in an elaborate process of restoration and repair. This process is not visible, not obvious, yet it is absolutely crucial to your survival and well-being. Understanding what happens during sleep, understanding the restorative work that occurs in the darkness, helps you appreciate why sleep is not a luxury, but a necessity, and it helps you understand what you are missing when sleep is disrupted. The glymphatic system is one of the most important discoveries in sleep neuroscience in recent decades. This system is a network of channels in your brain that clears metabolic waste during sleep. During wakefulness, your brain is actively thinking, processing information, generating thoughts and emotions. This activity produces metabolic byproducts, just like any biological activity produces waste. These byproducts accumulate in your brain tissue throughout the day. If they are not cleared, they interfere with neural function. They accumulate to toxic levels. They contribute to cognitive decline and neurodegenerative disease. During sleep, your brain cells shrink slightly, expanding the spaces between them. This expansion allows cerebrospinal fluid to flow through the brain more freely, washing away the accumulated metabolic waste. This process is called the glymphatic system because it works similarly to your body's lymphatic system, which clears waste from other parts of your body. But the glymphatic system is unique to the brain and is most active during sleep. If you do not sleep adequately, this waste clearance does not occur. The metabolic byproducts accumulate. Your brain becomes increasingly congested with waste. This accumulation impairs cognitive function and contributes to mood disturbances and anxiety. One of the key waste products cleared by the glymphatic system is beta amyloid, a protein that accumulates in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease. Sleep deprivation allows beta amyloid to accumulate in your brain. Chronic sleep deprivation increases your risk of Alzheimer's disease. This is not correlation. This is a causal mechanism. Sleep deprivation literally allows neurotoxic waste to accumulate in your brain. Sleep is not optional for brain health. Sleep is essential for preventing neurological disease. Memory consolidation is another crucial restorative process that occurs during sleep. During wakefulness, you are constantly learning, constantly forming new memories. But these memories are fragile. They are stored in a form that is easily forgotten. During sleep, your brain consolidates these memories, transferring them from short-term storage to long-term storage. This consolidation process involves the hippocampus, which is the brain region crucial for memory formation, and the cortex, which stores long-term memories. During sleep, the hippocampus replays the memories formed during the day, and this replay helps transfer them to the cortex for long-term storage. Different sleep stages contribute differently to memory consolidation. REM sleep is particularly important for emotional memory consolidation and procedural memory consolidation. Deep non-REM sleep is important for declarative memory consolidation, the memory of facts and events. If you do not sleep after learning something new, You will not remember it as well. If you do not sleep after an emotional experience, that experience will remain emotionally intense rather than fading naturally. Sleep is essential for learning and for emotional processing. Immune system restoration also occurs during sleep. During sleep, your body produces cytokines, molecules that help coordinate immune response. Your body produces antibodies and white blood cells that help fight infection. Your immune system is more active during sleep than during wakefulness. This is why you feel more vulnerable to illness when you are sleep deprived. Your immune system is weakened. This is why people who sleep poorly are more susceptible to infections. This is why getting adequate sleep is one of the most important things you can do to maintain your health. Hormone regulation is another crucial restorative process. During sleep, your body produces melatonin, which regulates sleep-wake cycles and also has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Your body reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, allowing your nervous system to recover from the activation of the day. Your body regulates insulin and blood sugar, maintaining metabolic health. Your body regulates leptin and ghrelin, the hormones that regulate appetite. If you do not sleep adequately, these hormonal systems become dysregulated. Your cortisol remains elevated, your appetite hormones become imbalanced, your metabolism becomes disrupted. You become more vulnerable to diabetes and weight gain. Growth hormone is released during deep sleep, particularly in the first part of the night. This hormone is crucial for physical growth and repair. It helps your muscles recover from exercise. It helps your bones stay strong. It helps your skin maintain its elasticity and youthfulness. As people age, deep sleep and growth hormone production decrease, contributing to the physical changes of aging. Getting adequate deep sleep is one way to slow the physical aging process. Emotional processing and regulation also occur during sleep, particularly during REM sleep. During REM sleep, your brain is processing emotional experiences, integrating them into your life story, reducing their emotional intensity. If you do not sleep adequately after an emotional experience, that experience remains emotionally intense. You ruminate about it. You remain distressed by it. Over time, unprocessed emotional experiences accumulate. Your emotional resilience decreases. Your mood becomes more fragile. You become more vulnerable to depression and anxiety. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural connections and reorganize itself, is enhanced during sleep. During sleep, the connections between neurons are strengthened or weakened based on what you learned and experienced during the day. This process is crucial for learning and for adapting to new situations. If you do not sleep, your brain cannot reorganize and adapt optimally. You become less flexible, less able to learn from experience, less able to adapt to change. Body temperature regulation is another restoration process. During sleep, your body temperature drops. This drop signals your brain that it is time to sleep and helps maintain sleep. The lower temperature during sleep is thought to be restorative, allowing your body to conserve energy and focus on internal repair rather than maintaining wakefulness. If your sleep is disrupted and your temperature regulation is disrupted, this restoration process cannot occur optimally. The entire autonomic nervous system resets during sleep. During wakefulness, your sympathetic nervous system is active, preparing you for action. During sleep, your parasympathetic nervous system is active, allowing your body to rest and recover. This daily reset is crucial for nervous system health. If you do not sleep adequately, your sympathetic nervous system remains activated. Your body remains in a state of partial activation. You remain physiologically stressed even when you are not consciously aware of stress. This chronic activation damages your health and contributes to anxiety and mood disturbance. All of these restorative processes require adequate sleep. They require sleep that is deep enough to allow the brain to enter the states where these processes occur most actively. They require sleep that is long enough to allow multiple cycles of these processes. They require sleep that is consolidated, not fragmented. A single night of poor sleep interrupts these processes. Multiple nights of poor sleep cause significant damage. The longer sleep deprivation continues, the more these restorative processes fall behind. Your brain becomes increasingly congested with waste. Your emotional experiences become increasingly unprocessed, Your immune system becomes increasingly compromised. Your mood becomes increasingly fragile. Your anxiety becomes increasingly intense. This is why addressing sleep is so important for mental health. Sleep is not a luxury. Sleep is medicine. Sleep is the most powerful intervention available for restoring emotional well-being and mental health. Circadian rhythms and emotional stability. Deep within your brain, in a region called the hypothalamus, exists a tiny cluster of about 20,000 neurons. This cluster is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and it is the master clock of your body. This master clock regulates your circadian rhythm, the approximately 24-hour cycle that governs your sleep-wake cycle, your body temperature, your hormone production, your metabolism, and countless other biological processes. Understanding your circadian rhythm is crucial to understanding the connection between sleep and mental health. Your circadian rhythm is not a learned pattern. It is a biological pattern that has evolved over millions of years. Your brain is designed to be awake during the day when it is light, and to sleep at night when it is dark. This design is so fundamental that it affects every cell in your body. Every tissue in your body has circadian rhythms. Your heart has a circadian rhythm. Your digestive system has a circadian rhythm. Your immune system has a circadian rhythm. Your brain has a circadian rhythm. When your circadian rhythm is aligned with the natural light-dark cycle of the day, everything works optimally. Light is the primary signal that regulates your circadian rhythm. When light enters your eyes, it travels to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which uses this information to set your internal clock. Light exposure in the morning tells your brain that it is time to wake up. It suppresses melatonin production and activates your sympathetic nervous system. This wakefulness signal cascades through your body, increasing your core temperature, increasing your alertness, preparing you for the day. Light exposure in the evening tells your brain that evening is approaching. It gradually increases melatonin production and shifts your nervous system toward rest. But modern life has disrupted this ancient alignment. Artificial light is everywhere. You're exposed to bright light in the evening from screens, from electric lights, from street lights. This light exposure tells your brain that it is still daytime. Your brain suppresses melatonin production. Your brain remains in wakefulness mode. You lie down to sleep while your brain is still signaling wakefulness. You struggle to fall asleep despite being exhausted. This is circadian misalignment, and it is epidemic in modern society. The consequences of circadian misalignment extend far beyond sleep problems. Circadian misalignment is associated with depression, anxiety, metabolic dysfunction, and numerous health problems. When your circadian rhythm is disrupted, your mood becomes unstable. Your anxiety becomes worse. Your emotional resilience decreases. This is not just because you are not sleeping well, though that is part of it. Circadian misalignment itself, independent of sleep quality, affects your mental health. The relationship between circadian rhythm and emotional stability operates through multiple mechanisms. One mechanism involves the production of serotonin, the neurotransmitter that stabilizes mood. Serotonin production follows a circadian pattern. Serotonin levels are highest during the day and lowest at night. This pattern is regulated by your circadian rhythm. When your circadian rhythm is disrupted, serotonin production becomes disrupted. Your serotonin levels might be low when you need them to be high, or they might remain elevated when they should be dropping. This disruption in serotonin production contributes to mood disturbance. Another mechanism involves cortisol, the stress hormone. Cortisol also follows a circadian pattern. Normally, cortisol levels are highest in the early morning, helping you wake up and start your day. Cortisol levels gradually decline throughout the day, reaching their lowest point at night. This pattern allows your body to rest and recover at night. But when your circadian rhythm is disrupted, cortisol patterns become disrupted. You might have high cortisol at night when you are trying to sleep, keeping your nervous system activated. You might have low cortisol in the morning when you are trying to wake up, leaving you feeling groggy and unmotivated. This disruption in cortisol patterns contributes to anxiety and mood instability. Your body temperature also follows a circadian pattern. Your core temperature is highest in the late afternoon and early evening, then gradually drops as evening progresses. This drop in temperature signals your brain that it is time to sleep. This is why a cool bedroom promotes good sleep. Your body is naturally cooling down as evening progresses, and a cool environment supports this natural process. But when your circadian rhythm is disrupted, your temperature patterns become disrupted. Your temperature might not drop as it should in the evening. You might feel too warm to sleep. This temperature dysregulation contributes to insomnia. The timing of eating also affects your circadian rhythm. Your digestive system has its own circadian rhythm. It is optimized to digest food during the day and to rest at night. When you eat late at night, you are asking your digestive system to work when it is supposed to be resting. This disrupts your circadian rhythm. It also makes sleep more difficult. Food in your stomach interferes with sleep. Eating late at night disrupts your circadian rhythm and your sleep simultaneously. Exercise also affects your circadian rhythm. Exercise in the morning helps synchronize your circadian rhythm, promoting wakefulness and alertness. Exercise in the evening can disrupt sleep if it is too close to bedtime because it activates your nervous system. Timing your exercise appropriately, exercising in the morning or afternoon rather than evening, helps support healthy circadian rhythm and good sleep. Social interaction also affects your circadian rhythm. Human contact, particularly face-to-face interaction, helps regulate your circadian rhythm. Isolation disrupts your circadian rhythm. This is one reason why people who are isolated often develop sleep problems and mood disturbance. Their circadian rhythm has become dysregulated from lack of social synchronization. When your circadian rhythm is properly aligned, your emotional stability improves dramatically. You have more energy during the day, you feel more motivated, your mood is more stable, your anxiety is more manageable, you fall asleep more easily, you sleep more deeply, you wake more refreshed. This is not because you are trying harder or because you have more willpower. This is because your brain and body are functioning according to their evolutionary design. When you align yourself with your circadian rhythm, everything becomes easier. Realigning your circadian rhythm after it has been disrupted takes time, but it is possible. The key is consistency. You need to go to bed at the same time every night and wake at the same time every morning, even on weekends. You need to get bright light exposure early in the day and avoid bright light in the evening. You need to eat at consistent times during the day and avoid eating late at night. You need to exercise during the day and avoid strenuous exercise in the evening. You need to maintain consistent social contact. These practices, maintained consistently, gradually realign your circadian rhythm. As your circadian rhythm realigns, your sleep improves and your emotional stability improves. The chemistry of calm. Your brain is a chemical factory, producing and releasing substances that determine how you feel, how you think, and how you sleep. These chemical messengers, called neurotransmitters, are the language your brain uses to communicate with itself. When these chemicals are balanced, you feel calm, stable, and able to sleep. When they are imbalanced, you feel anxious, depressed, and unable to rest. Understanding this chemistry is understanding the biological basis of your emotional experience. Serotonin is perhaps the most famous neurotransmitter, often called the happiness chemical. But serotonin does much more than make you happy. Serotonin regulates your mood, certainly, but it also regulates your sleep, your appetite, your pain perception, your sense of well-being, and your ability to cope with stress. When serotonin levels are adequate, you feel stable, capable, and able to handle challenges. When serotonin is low, you feel fragile, vulnerable, and unable to cope. You become more susceptible to anxiety and depression. Sleep is crucial for serotonin production. During sleep, your brain produces serotonin. When you do not sleep adequately, your brain cannot produce serotonin. Serotonin levels drop. Your mood becomes unstable. You become more anxious. You become more vulnerable to depression. This is why sleep deprivation and depression so often occur together. Sleep deprivation prevents serotonin production. Low serotonin creates depression. Depression prevents sleep. The cycle perpetuates itself. Melatonin is the hormone that regulates your sleep-wake cycle. Your brain produces melatonin in response to darkness. Melatonin tells your body that it is nighttime. It lowers your body temperature. It decreases your alertness. It allows you to fall asleep. Melatonin production is suppressed by light, particularly blue light from screens. When you are exposed to bright light in the evening, melatonin production is suppressed. Your brain does not receive the signal that it is nighttime. You struggle to fall asleep. Melatonin also has functions beyond sleep regulation. Melatonin is a powerful antioxidant. It reduces inflammation in your brain and throughout your body. It supports immune function. It protects your brain cells from damage. When melatonin levels are adequate, your brain is protected. When melatonin levels are low from sleep deprivation or circadian disruption, your brain becomes more vulnerable to inflammation and damage. GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, is the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter in your brain. GABA calms neural firing. It reduces anxiety. It promotes relaxation. It allows sleep. Without adequate GABA, your brain remains in a state of excessive activation. You feel anxious, you cannot relax, you cannot sleep. Sleep deprivation depletes GABA. Anxiety disorders involve low GABA. The combination of sleep deprivation and anxiety disorders creates a situation where GABA is severely depleted and your brain is in a state of constant activation. Glutamate is the primary excitatory neurotransmitter. Glutamate activates neural firing. It is necessary for learning, memory, and normal brain function. But too much glutamate is toxic. It overstimulates neurons. It contributes to anxiety. Sleep deprivation causes glutamate to accumulate in your brain. The balance between GABA and glutamate becomes disrupted. Your brain becomes hyperactive. You feel anxious and unable to sleep. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter associated with motivation, pleasure, and reward. Dopamine allows you to feel motivated to do things. Dopamine allows you to experience pleasure. Dopamine is crucial for pursuing goals and maintaining effort. When dopamine is low, nothing feels worth doing. You lose motivation. You lose the drive to change your sleep habits or address your mental health. Depression involves low dopamine. Sleep deprivation reduces dopamine production. The combination of depression and sleep deprivation creates a situation where dopamine is severely depleted, and you feel unable to take any action to improve your situation. Cortisol is the stress hormone. Cortisol is necessary in appropriate amounts to help you wake up and respond to challenges. But when cortisol is chronically elevated, it damages your health. Chronic elevation of cortisol contributes to anxiety, depression, memory problems, and immune suppression. Sleep deprivation keeps cortisol elevated. Anxiety and stress keep cortisol elevated. The combination of sleep deprivation and anxiety creates a situation where cortisol is chronically elevated, damaging your health and making your anxiety worse. Norepinephrine is the neurotransmitter associated with alertness and arousal. Norepinephrine keeps you alert and ready to respond. In appropriate amounts, norepinephrine helps you focus and function. But when norepinephrine is elevated, you feel anxious and hypervigilant. Sleep deprivation elevates norepinephrine. Anxiety elevates norepinephrine. Sleep deprivation and anxiety together create excessive norepinephrine, leaving you in a constant state of alertness and hypervigilance. Acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter crucial for attention and memory. Acetylcholine is most active during wakefulness and during REM sleep. Acetylcholine is necessary for forming new memories and for attention. When acetylcholine levels are appropriate, you can focus and learn. Sleep deprivation disrupts acetylcholine function. You become unable to concentrate. You become unable to learn. Your memory becomes impaired. Adenosine is a neurotransmitter that builds up during wakefulness and signals your brain that you need sleep. As adenosine accumulates throughout the day, you feel increasingly sleepy. During sleep, adenosine is cleared. When you wake, adenosine levels are low and you feel alert. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors, preventing the signal that you need sleep. This is why caffeine interferes with sleep. Anxiety and stress can interfere with adenosine signaling, preventing the buildup of adenosine that would normally lead to sleepiness. The complexity of neurochemistry is important to understand because it shows that mental health and sleep are not simple problems with simple solutions. You cannot just take a pill to fix serotonin and expect everything to improve, because all of these neurotransmitters interact with each other. Improving sleep requires addressing the entire chemical balance of your brain. It requires time. It requires patience, but it is possible. When you establish healthy sleep, your brain chemistry gradually rebalances. Serotonin increases, GABA increases, glutamate normalizes, dopamine increases, cortisol normalizes, norepinephrine decreases. All of these changes occur naturally when you sleep well. Your brain has the capacity to heal itself when given the opportunity through adequate sleep. Breaking the cycle. You are caught in a cycle. Sleep deprivation worsens anxiety and depression. Anxiety and depression prevent sleep. The worse your sleep becomes, the worse your mental health becomes. The worse your mental health becomes, the worse your sleep becomes. The cycle seems inescapable, but cycles can be interrupted. Patterns can be changed. Healing is possible. Understanding how to break this cycle is the key to recovery. Breaking the cycle requires addressing multiple dimensions simultaneously. You cannot simply try harder to sleep, because trying harder maintains the activation that prevents sleep. You cannot simply address your anxiety without addressing your sleep, because sleep deprivation makes anxiety worse. You cannot simply address your depression without addressing your sleep, because sleep deprivation makes depression worse. You must address the cycle holistically, working with multiple dimensions at once. The first step is to establish sleep consistency. Your brain thrives on consistency. Consistency helps regulate your circadian rhythm. Consistency helps train your brain that sleep is predictable and safe. Choose a bedtime and a wake time, and keep them consistent every single day, even on weekends. This consistency might feel rigid at first, but it is essential for retraining your brain. Your brain needs to know that sleep will happen at a predictable time. Your circadian rhythm needs to synchronize with this predictable schedule. Over time, typically 2 to 4 weeks, your brain will begin to anticipate sleep. You will begin to feel sleepy at your chosen bedtime. Your body will begin to wake naturally at your chosen wake time. This consistency is foundational. The second step is to optimize your sleep environment. Your bedroom should be cool, dark, and quiet. Temperature should be between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit, which is optimal for sleep. Darkness should be complete. Use blackout curtains if necessary. Sound should be minimal. Use white noise if needed to mask disruptive sounds. Your bed should be comfortable, with quality bedding that feels good against your skin. Your bedroom should be used only for sleep and intimacy, not for work or watching screens. All of these environmental factors signal to your brain that this is a place of safety and rest. The third step is to eliminate light exposure in the evening. Blue light from screens suppresses melatonin production. Avoid screens for at least 1 hour before bedtime. Dim the lights in your home in the evening. Use blue light filters on devices if you must use screens in the evening. Get bright light exposure in the morning to help regulate your circadian rhythm. Morning light exposure helps set your internal clock and promotes wakefulness during the day, which makes sleep easier at night. The fourth step is to limit caffeine and other substances that disrupt sleep. Caffeine has a half-life of about 5 hours, meaning that half of the caffeine you consume is still in your system 5 hours later. If you consume caffeine after midday, you will still have significant amounts in your system when you are trying to sleep. Alcohol might help you fall asleep initially, but it disrupts REM sleep and makes sleep less restorative. Cannabis affects sleep architecture in complex ways and should be avoided if you are trying to establish healthy sleep. Nicotine is a stimulant and disrupts sleep. Eliminating these substances, or at least limiting them, is crucial for sleep improvement. The fifth step is to address anxiety directly through relaxation practices. Progressive muscle relaxation, where you systematically tense and release muscles throughout your body, helps discharge the physical tension that anxiety creates. Deep breathing, where you breathe slowly and deeply, activates your parasympathetic nervous system and reduces anxiety. Meditation, where you observe your thoughts without judgment, helps break the cycle of rumination and worry. These practices should be done during the day and also in the evening as part of a wind-down routine. They help train your nervous system to be less reactive and more calm. The sixth step is to establish a wind-down routine. Starting about 1 hour before bedtime, begin to transition towards sleep. Dim the lights. Avoid screens. Do something relaxing. Read a book, take a warm bath, listen to calming music, practice gentle stretching. This wind-down routine signals to your brain that sleep is coming. It gives your nervous system time to shift from daytime activation to nighttime rest. This transition is crucial. Jumping from stimulating activity directly into bed does not give your nervous system time to shift modes. A gradual wind-down allows your nervous system to transition naturally. The seventh step is to address catastrophic thinking about sleep. When you find yourself thinking that not sleeping will be a disaster, pause and examine that thought. Is it true? Will you actually be unable to function after one night of poor sleep? Probably not. You will feel worse, certainly, but you will likely be able to function adequately. This realistic perspective helps reduce the anxiety about sleep that interferes with sleep. You can remind yourself, I might not sleep well tonight, but I will survive. I have survived previous nights of poor sleep. I can survive this. This is not a disaster. This is just a difficult night. The eighth step is to consider cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI. CBTI is a structured program that addresses the thoughts and behaviors that maintain insomnia. It has strong scientific evidence supporting its effectiveness. It addresses the conditioned anxiety about sleep, the catastrophic thinking, the behavioral patterns that maintain insomnia. Working with a trained therapist can be very helpful, though some people can work through CBTI programs on their own or with apps designed for this purpose. The ninth step is to address depression directly through behavioral activation. Depression involves withdrawal and avoidance. You stop doing things because nothing feels worth doing, but avoiding activity worsens depression. Behavioral activation involves scheduling activities even when you do not feel like doing them, because activity helps lift mood. Gentle activity, a short walk, a conversation with a friend, a hobby you enjoy, can help begin to lift depression. As mood lifts slightly, motivation increases, and you can do more activity. This creates an upward spiral rather than a downward spiral. The 10th step is to seek professional help if needed. If you are struggling significantly with anxiety or depression, talking to a mental health professional can be very helpful. They can provide therapy, they can prescribe medication if appropriate, they can help you work through the specific patterns that are maintaining your suffering. There is no shame in seeking help. Seeking help is a sign of strength and self-care, not weakness. Many people find that a combination of therapy, medication if needed, and lifestyle changes like improved sleep creates the conditions for significant improvement. The 11th step is to be patient with yourself. Breaking a cycle takes time. You will not improve overnight. Some nights will be better than others. Some weeks will be better than others. This is normal. Progress is rarely linear. There will be setbacks. But if you maintain consistency with sleep practices, if you continue to address anxiety and depression, progress will come. Your brain will gradually rebalance, your sleep will gradually improve, your mental health will gradually improve. Trust the process. Trust your brain's capacity to heal. The 12th step is to celebrate small improvements. When you sleep a little better, notice it and appreciate it. When you feel a little less anxious, notice it. When you have a moment of better mood, notice it. These small improvements are signs that the cycle is beginning to break. Each improvement builds on previous improvements. Over time, these small improvements accumulate into significant change. The mind at rest. Imagine a mind at rest, not the absence of thought, but the absence of struggle. Not the absence of activity, but the absence of the frantic, desperate quality that characterizes anxiety. Imagine a mind that can think when it needs to think, but that can also quiet when it needs to quiet. Imagine a mind that is not constantly scanning for threats, not constantly generating worry, not constantly fighting against its own nature. This is what a mind at rest looks like. This is what becomes possible when sleep is healthy and consistent. When your mind is truly at rest, several things shift. Your thoughts become less intrusive. You can choose what to think about, rather than being at the mercy of whatever thoughts arise. Your mind becomes more spacious. There is room for perspective, for wisdom, for creativity. Your mind becomes more flexible. You can shift from one perspective to another, rather than being stuck in a single anxious viewpoint. Your mind becomes more peaceful. There is an underlying sense of okayness, even when challenges arise. This state of rest is not something that you achieve through force or effort. It is something that emerges naturally when the conditions are right. It emerges when your brain chemistry is balanced. It emerges when your nervous system is regulated. It emerges when your sleep is adequate and restorative. It emerges when your circadian rhythm is aligned. It emerges when you have addressed the thoughts and behaviors that maintain anxiety and depression. It emerges as a natural consequence of taking care of yourself. The relationship between physical rest and mental rest is profound. When your body is rested, your mind becomes rested. When your body is tense, your mind becomes tense. The two are not separate. Your mind lives in your body. Your body is the home of your mind. Taking care of your body through sleep, through movement, through nourishment, is taking care of your mind. Resting your body is resting your mind. As your mind becomes more rested, your capacity for emotional regulation increases. You become able to experience difficult emotions without being overwhelmed by them. You can feel sadness without falling into depression. You can feel fear without falling into panic. You can feel anger without being consumed by rage. You can feel disappointment without losing hope. This capacity to feel emotions while maintaining perspective is emotional resilience, and it emerges naturally from a rested mind. Your creativity also increases when your mind is rested. Creativity requires a certain kind of mental state, relaxed alertness, where you are not trying too hard, but you are also not sleeping. When your mind is exhausted from sleep deprivation, creativity disappears. You become rigid. You cannot think of new solutions. You cannot see possibilities. But when your mind is rested, possibilities appear. Solutions emerge. You become able to think in new ways. Your capacity for compassion also increases when your mind is rested. When you are exhausted and anxious, you become self-protective. You withdraw, you become irritable. You have little patience for others' needs. But when you are rested, you naturally become more generous. You have more capacity to listen to others. You have more patience. You have more ability to understand others' perspectives. You become a better friend, a better partner, a better family member. Your relationships improve simply because you are rested. Your sense of meaning also becomes clearer when your mind is rested. Exhaustion and anxiety cloud meaning. Everything feels pointless. But when you are rested, meaning emerges naturally. You can see what matters to you. You can connect with your values. You can see how your actions align or misalign with what you care about. You can make choices that are consistent with your values rather than choices driven by desperation or anxiety. Physical health also improves when your mind is rested. When you are anxious and sleep deprived, your immune system is compromised. You become more susceptible to illness. Your body's healing capacity is reduced. But when you are rested, your immune system functions optimally. Wounds heal faster. You recover from illness more quickly. Your body's natural healing processes work more effectively. Your sense of time also becomes more normal when your mind is rested. Exhaustion distorts time. Minutes feel like hours. Hours feel like minutes. You lose your sense of temporal perspective. But when you are rested, time feels more normal. You can plan for the future without catastrophizing. You can remember the past without being stuck in it. You can be present in the moment more fully. Your sense of self also becomes stronger when your mind is rested. Sleep deprivation and anxiety fragment your sense of self. You do not know who you are or what you want. You are constantly reacting to anxiety, rather than living according to your own values and desires. But when you are rested, your sense of self becomes more coherent. You know who you are. You know what you want. You can make choices that express your authentic self rather than choices driven by fear. The physical sensations of a rested mind are worth noticing. There is a lightness in your chest. There is spaciousness in your head. There is ease in your muscles. There is a sense of groundedness, of being connected to the earth. There is a sense of safety in your body. These physical sensations are signs that your nervous system is regulated, that your mind is at rest. This state of rest is not permanent. You will still have difficult days. You will still experience challenges and emotions, but you will have the capacity to move through difficulty without being overwhelmed by it. You will have the capacity to experience emotions without being consumed by them. You will have the capacity to face challenges without catastrophizing. This is the gift of a rested mind. This is what becomes possible when you take sleep seriously, when you take your mental health seriously, when you commit to addressing the cycle that has trapped you, your journey toward wholeness. You have traveled through the landscape of sleep and mental health. You have learned how the two are inseparably connected. You have learned how sleep deprivation perpetuates anxiety and depression, and how anxiety and depression prevent sleep. You have learned the neuroscience underlying these connections. You have learned how your brain works, what happens during sleep, what happens when sleep is disrupted. You have learned practical strategies for breaking the cycle. Now, as we conclude this journey, it is time to reflect on what this knowledge means for you, for your life, for your future. The journey toward wholeness is not a destination you arrive at suddenly. It is not a point where you are suddenly healed and never struggle again. Wholeness is a process. It is a gradual integration of all the parts of yourself. It is learning to work with your mind, your body, your emotions, and your nervous system in a way that supports your well-being. It is learning to listen to what your body and mind are telling you. It is learning to respond with compassion rather than judgment. The first part of this journey is acceptance. You must accept that you have been struggling. You must accept that your sleep has been disrupted and your mental health has suffered. You must accept that this is not your fault. This is not a personal failing. This is what happens when a human nervous system is overwhelmed, when sleep is disrupted, when the conditions for health are not present. Accepting this without judgment is the first step toward change. The second part of the journey is compassion. You must learn to treat yourself with the same compassion you would offer a good friend who is struggling. When you notice yourself being self-critical about your insomnia or your anxiety or your depression, pause. Would you speak to a friend in that way? Probably not. You would offer them kindness and understanding. Offer yourself the same kindness and understanding. Your suffering has taught you things. Your struggle has developed capacities in you. Your journey through darkness has given you perspective. Honor that journey with compassion. The third part of the journey is action. Knowledge alone does not create change. You must take action. You must commit to consistent sleep practices. You must commit to addressing anxiety and depression. You must commit to the practices that support your well-being, even on days when you do not feel like it, especially on those days. Consistency is what transforms knowledge into change. Consistency is what allows your brain to reorganize itself. Consistency is what allows healing to occur. The fourth part of the journey is patience. Change takes time. Your brain has organized itself in certain patterns over months or years. Changing those patterns takes time. You will not see dramatic improvement overnight, but if you maintain consistency, if you maintain compassion, if you maintain commitment to your well-being, change will come. Small improvements will accumulate. Weeks of better sleep will lead to months of better sleep. Months of better sleep will lead to years of better sleep. Your mental health will gradually improve. Your life will gradually improve. The fifth part of the journey is connection. Do not try to do this alone. Connection with others is healing. Talking to someone you trust about what you are experiencing can help. Seeking professional help from a therapist or doctor can help. Joining a support group with others who understand what you are going through can help. Human connection is medicine. It regulates your nervous system. It reminds you that you are not alone. It provides perspective and support. Reach out, ask for help, allow others to support you. The sixth part of the journey is integration. As you improve, as your sleep gets better, as your mental health improves, you integrate these improvements into your life. You begin to make choices that support your well-being. You begin to notice what activities support your sleep and mental health, and you do more of those. You begin to notice what activities disrupt your sleep and mental health, and you do less of those. You begin to live in a way that is aligned with your well-being. This integration is gradual. It is not a sudden transformation. It is a slow shift in how you live your life. The seventh part of the journey is resilience. As you experience the benefits of better sleep and better mental health, you build resilience. You develop confidence that you can handle difficulties. You develop trust in yourself. You develop the capacity to face challenges without falling into the patterns that previously trapped you. This resilience does not mean you never struggle again. It means you have the capacity to move through struggle without being overwhelmed by it. The eighth part of the journey is meaning. As your mind becomes clearer, as your mental health improves, meaning becomes clearer. You begin to see what matters to you. You begin to understand what you want your life to be about. You begin to make choices that are aligned with your values and your purpose. This sense of meaning is profoundly healing. It gives your life direction. It gives your struggles context. It connects you to something larger than your own suffering. As you move forward, remember that your brain is remarkable. Your brain has the capacity to heal. Your brain has the capacity to reorganize itself. Your brain has the capacity to produce the chemicals that support well-being. Your brain has the capacity to regulate your emotions. All of this capacity is there, waiting to be activated. Sleep is the key that unlocks this capacity. Sleep is the medicine that allows your brain to heal. Remember too that you are not alone. Millions of people struggle with insomnia, anxiety, and depression. You are not defective. You are not broken. You are human. You are experiencing something that many humans experience, and you are taking steps to change it. You are reading about sleep and mental health. You are learning about your own brain and nervous system. You are preparing to make changes. This is courageous. This is wise. This is the beginning of healing. The journey toward wholeness is a journey back to yourself. It is a journey back to a state where your mind can rest, where your body can relax, where your emotions can flow naturally, where your nervous system is regulated. This state is your birthright. You were born with the capacity for restful sleep and emotional well-being. Life circumstances have disrupted that capacity. But it is not gone. It is not lost. It is waiting for you to create the conditions for it to emerge again. Create those conditions. Commit to consistent sleep. Commit to addressing anxiety and depression. Commit to the practices that support your well-being. Commit to compassion toward yourself. Commit to patience. Commit to connection. Commit to integration. Commit to building resilience. Commit to finding meaning. Commit to the journey toward wholeness. This commitment is the most important commitment you can make. It is a commitment to yourself. It is a commitment to your future. It is a commitment to your well-being. As you close your eyes tonight, or whenever you next sleep, know that your brain is working for you. Know that even if sleep feels difficult, your brain is trying to rest. Know that every night you sleep, even imperfectly, is a night of healing. Know that you are moving toward wholeness. Know that the cycle can be broken. Know that you can recover. Know that better sleep and better mental health are possible for you. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this exploration has brought you insight, if this understanding of sleep and mental health has resonated with you, I would deeply appreciate a like and a subscription to Relaxing Science. Your engagement helps us continue bringing science and serenity together. I would also love to know your thoughts. Where are you in your own journey toward better sleep and better mental health? What insights have resonated most with you? Please share in the comments. Your story matters. Your journey matters. Your well-being matters. I invite you to return. There is always more to explore, more to understand, more to discover about your mind, your body, and your capacity for healing. The path toward wholeness is long, but it is a path worth walking, and you are not walking it alone. We are walking it together. In this moment, in this space, we are connected. We are all seeking greater peace, greater rest, greater wholeness. That seeking itself is sacred. That seeking itself is the beginning of finding. Rest well, sleep deeply, heal gently. Your mind and body deserve that care. You deserve that care. You deserve to sleep well. You deserve to feel at peace. You deserve to experience the wholeness that comes from integrated sleep and mental health. This is not a luxury. This is your birthright. Claim it, nurture it, let it heal you. The journey continues and you are ready. End of screenplay. Total 13,847 words.